Uh-huh.
We're going to have to give him another minute or two. Maybe we can catch up with Paul in a second. Yeah, I'm anxious. Paul did a couple radio spots. Pretty much all the Rochester stations had people from and associated with the race at Canandaigua on Tuesday, the 3 to 60 smoke shootout. Doug Emery ended up picking up the win. But the big news of that weekend, and you were there, were you doing it for Race Chaser? Or were you
I was
just there?
doing it for Race Chaser. I've actually got an article up on racechaseronline.com. I've been told Chris earlier, I've been going to races since I was a little kid, and I can't ever remember seeing a wreck that happened so quickly and turned so bad so quickly as what I saw the other night. I was standing on the front stretch underneath the flag stand, trying to take it all in and be sure I could get down there to get my victory lane picture and interview, and they come off of turn 4, and hole opens up in the middle, and smoke found his way through there, and it happened from that point on. It would just the video that everybody's posted up on Facebook and all throughout social media, tells the story, but happened very quickly. Cars flying through the air, cars crashing into other cars, car going through into the infield over top of the Jersey barrier, which I never saw at first glance because there's so much happening in the first turn.
Right.
It wasn't until I got down to turn 1 and was talking to some fans in the stands to even realize why Alicia's car was down there. And, to go back and look at the video, you can just see when she gets to the Jersey barrier and gets airborne. And some guys really took some wild rides that night.
And they're lucky that nobody was seriously hurt. I mean, Alicia Ruggles, she ended up in the hospital. She stayed overnight, and now she's in a back brace at this point, with some effect of a spinal injury, and she's only 19 years old. So we wish her the best in terms of recoveries. I did contact Paul right there. He was planning on 8:30. So we're going to fill a few minutes here, and then we'll get Paul back on the line and talk a little bit about it. And is it fair this is one of the things that he'll be able to elaborate on when we get Paul on the line, and now that Tom's hanging out there in the live chat, he's going to be able to weigh in on this as well. Is it fair the way this accident has been portrayed? We've got so many people from outside of the racing community that are shame on Ewing, Tony Stewart, that are shame on Ewing the track a little bit, and they're kind of dogpiling on this and turning into, I don't know if I want to go to the extent of saying that it's a frenzy, but at least in the greater Rochester area here in New York,
it certainly created a buzz.
There has been a buzz. The video wreck was on speed. Nobody was hurt, and even the broken back isn't even quite accurate. She didn't break her back in the sense where she's going to be paralyzed. She's injured some of the vertebrae in her spine, and there's reports of bone fragments and all these other different things. But basically, we got to wait for the inflammation to go away, give it some time, and they'll be able to reassess it after she gets out of the back brace. Coming back to that, they've dogpiled on this, but at the same time, Canandaigua had exposure on every major radio station in Rochester. WCMF had it. We had all these different people. So, I mean, I'm excited about it. So we'll have to see where it goes. We're getting a phone call here. We'll go answer that real quick.
Yeah, and it certainly has been a lot of exposure between radio, TV, national outlets. So I think we got Paul Kinney coming in on the Creekside Entertainment Hotline.
If you may say so yourself. Right?
If I do say so myself.
And we're going to pop Paul in. Paul, have you got us?
Yep.
Okay, great. All right. So, Paul, tell us about your adventure at Canandaigua.
Wasn't the greatest venture, obviously, as people know by now. We didn't have too bad of a night going. I redrew third and started next to Tony there, and first few laps we were sliding back a little ways and just trying to get the feel for things. And obviously that caution came out and kind of, a huge wreck that happened that everybody knows about, and kind of wrecked our night for sure.
What we were talking about as we were getting you into the line here, we were talking about what happened in the wake of it. You ended up leaving the track in an ambulance. Alicia, she was injured, and she's since been discharged. And you guys have been on, you sprint car guys have been on this media tour. You've been on all the major radio stations, and the accident's been featured on Speed. What is your take on the accident, and what is your response to some of the attention that the accident's been getting in whatever light you choose to interpret it as?
Well, I mean, bottom line is it was, a racing accident, and obviously all the media attention and everything is blowing it out of hand, I think, because of Tony admitting that it was his fault. I mean, if it was my fault, or if it was Sean Donovan's fault, or any other racer's fault, and we admitted it, everybody would have already forgot about it, I think. It's too bad that, good or bad, whatever Tony does, it just gets blown out of hand, and, it's just really negative attention, and, it was a racing incident. It's nobody's fault. We know that stuff happens, and every time we strap in the car, we know we can be hurt or worse. So, it is what it is. It was an accident. That's bottom line.
That's pretty much the position that Tony Stewart took on it as well, but it seemed that everybody wanted to, a lot of other media outlets wanted to grab hold of this thing and just take it and run and paint this completely out of perspective picture of what happened there. It was very much a racing deal. I mean, if it was Paul and Steve Poirier going through the corner and it happened just like Paul said, it wouldn't be an issue. I mean, it would be done and over with. It'd be a lot of wrecked race cars and away they go. Have you been contacted at all by any of Tony Stewart's people?
I haven't personally been contacted, but my crew guy has been friends with Tony. Tony called him that night. It was early in the morning. 2 in the morning, I was at the hospital and asked how I was. He called this morning. So he's checking on us. He knows who I am. I mean, we talked at the track. I've known him since last year. So, he puts his pants on like we all do. I mean, I had Sean Donovan call me, ask how I was. I had Lance Young ask how I was. I can't even count the phone calls and stuff I got from fans and stuff like that yesterday. So, he feels bad about it, but it's an accident, and, it is what it is. Like I said, it's just getting blown a little bit out of hand. So,
what were you checked out for when you got transported from the track?
What's that?
What were you checked out for when you were transported from the track?
Well, they pretty much, I didn't want to go. I was trying to, to not go, but the fact that I was knocked out for 5 or 6 minutes, and the speeds that are involved, they really didn't give me an option. So, I was complaining of back pain, which still hurts. I got some discs and stuff out. It was just pretty much precautionary, but whenever, anything you do and you hurt your neck or your back or anything like that, just like Alicia, she got out of the ambulance and her mother brought her to the hospital because of the back pain.
Right.
She would have never known that her back had been broken, So they just, it was a good thing we went. We scared a lot of people. It scared me during the whole thing as well. But, it was just precautionary stuff. It probably seemed a lot worse than it actually was. But, I'm glad we got checked out and we're good to go.
Joe Trenka with the broken ankle. We just had that come through on the Creekside Entertainment live chat.
Yeah, yep. and we just, of course, with any of the drivers, you're getting a little conflicting reports on what exactly happened. Is it broke? Is it just some really bad bruising or whatnot? But, yeah, and speaking from a former emergency room nurse and New York State paramedic, I definitely would have convinced Paul that maybe we should go get at least checked out and see what's happening. So it was good that everybody got to do that.
Yeah, especially with everything that happened with the Leffler deal, I think people are making a lot bigger deal about accidents in any kind of race car. So it's just better to get checked out because all that stuff's still on our mind. You're just better safe than sorry. So I know a kid that crashed a snowmobile and broke his leg, and he was sitting there waiting for the ambulance for that. And on the way to the hospital, he died because his spleen was bleeding. So. Oh man. There isn't too many precautions you can take. You know what I mean? It took us till 5 in the morning, and I sat there with a neck brace on and complained the whole time. But now that it's over with, I'm glad I did it, and hopefully it doesn't happen anytime soon again.
From your perspective, Paul, do you think the Jason Leffler thing has a lot to do with some of the hubbub that has come from this incident?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, as far as that Jason Leffler thing goes, I think the 30-something people die a year in sprint cars or race cars in general. I don't remember exactly what it is, but you don't hear anything about those and stuff like that either. So, something happens to somebody that's a well-known person, somebody that's famous, it just all gets blown out of proportion. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
What was it like going on how many interviews have you done this week?
I have actually none. The first day I didn't go to work, and a few people contacted my old man.
Yeah.
I think he talked to 2 or 3 different people, so I haven't done any personally. I'm sure I'll probably talk to Doug. I'm talking to you guys, so. Well,
we appreciate you coming on. I mean, I heard a lot about the 360 sprint car shootout on the radio on the drive into work, and a lot of familiar names were showing up on there. Is there some good to come of this? Do you think?
I don't know. I mean, sooner or later people will forget about it, just like anything else. It's going to take longer, like I said, because Tony's involved. Nothing. I don't think anything can change. I mean, an accident is an accident. You can't plan for them. It can happen next week again. Hopefully it doesn't. But there's really nothing you can do. Everybody that goes to the races knows it can happen. Everybody that races a car knows that it can happen. And there's nothing you can do instead of stop having race cars altogether, which won't happen. So it's just something we're going to deal with on and off. And when it happens with somebody that's really well known like this, I feel like it's just going to be the same type of deal.
Tell us a little bit about your season. You got a couple wins already this year.
Yeah, we got a couple wins up in Canada, which was really cool. I got a win in Canada last year. Definitely be kind of cool for us to win it, either home track or at least in my home country. But win, and you'll take them as you can get them. And we've been struggling a little bit with that speed week. That was a lot of work. Didn't get the results we wanted there, but we still got 10 races to go, and see if we can improve on it. How is
your I guess maybe your perception of local racing changed since you got into the 360?
I think that the group of guys that we race with, guys and gals, their families, it's just a nice group of people. We're just a huge family. I love doing it. I was kind of getting wore out from the modified stuff, and not because of the people so much, but we were struggling a little bit, and we do better in these cars and have more fun. And like I said a couple of minutes ago, the amount of people that called me that I raced with and wondered how I was, some of them a couple times, it's just makes it fun, and everybody's got a lot of respect for each other.
We've got some questions coming in on the Creekside Entertainment live chat. The biggest one right here that we got is there anything that you're going to do with your car in terms of the safety? You going to change it, do anything different to it?
I pretty much have every safety item right now. The helmet and the Hans and the arm restraints. I don't wear them all the time. I should probably wear them more often, the arm restraints. But it's as safe as you can get in them, the way that I'm in it right now. So there's not a whole lot we can do. We know, like I said, that when we strap in, that something like that can happen, or something worse. So there's not a whole lot we can do. You just hope stuff like that doesn't happen and go out there and try to win races.
How's the budget and what you're investing compared to when you're running the modifieds?
In the beginning, we were told that it was going to be cheaper. I think we found out it's probably pretty close to the same as far as the race car and stuff goes. I think we use a couple more tires probably, and definitely the traveling costs. When you're following a tour, the traveling that we do, and the food you got to buy when you're on the road and stuff like that. But it's worth it to us. Sponsors help a lot. You can always use more of those, but the fun makes up for it. Anything you do that's fun usually isn't safe or cheap. So that's the way we look at it.
Paul, I had a chance to do an interview with the Cobra Chuck Hebing on Saturday, Canandaigua, before the races, and we focused a lot on the transition from a big block modified or a small block modified over to the 360 sprint car, and I was curious to get your take on that, making that transition as far as driving the car. Any changes you had to make to your driving style or anything of that sort?
I think so. I mean, you can't drive it quite the same, and it took us a little while to get used to that. You know, I'm still getting used to it. I mean, we learn stuff all the time as far as setting them up and stuff. But as far as driving the car, you know, you can drive a modified sometimes. Like I say, like you're mad at it. You know, I mean, you can go in the corner and stab the brake and mash the gas again and get going. And sprint car isn't quite as forgiving like that. You kind of got to roll into the corner, keep the car smooth, and you know, let your wing do some work and stuff like that. I mean, a lot of modified guys have got in them, obviously, and done a real good job. Other guys have tried it and not even liked it. So it's just perspective, you know, driver preference and stuff like that. Luckily, you know, we transitioned into it pretty easily, and I think we're doing a lot better with it than the modified.
And then to kind of follow up on that, any track condition that you feel the modified has helped you with, or even in terms of being able to set up for a dry slick track like they had at Utica Rome, anything that you've been able to pull from as far as track conditions, setup, anything like that?
I think at first I didn't think that my modified experience helped me very much, but you know, as I keep going here, I'm realizing, you know, you're driving a modified in the corner that's 2,500 pounds, trying to stop it on a real slick track. You got to be really gentle, keep the tires from spinning, and keep the thing under you. So, a lot of laps around Utica Rome and a big block and stuff like that, where it's always dry and slick. You know, definitely helps with the sprint car, because most of the tracks are slick, and even if they're not usually slick, when we get there, we usually burn them off pretty good. So, you know, you got the wing on top to help you a little bit, keep you stuck, and you know, just throttle control that we've learned from the modified quite a bit.
Every time we have a modified turn sprint car driver, we end up doing the laundry list of drivers between, you know, Lance Young, Chuck Hebing. He's the guy that's probably found the most success in crossing over. With Lance Young right there with him, having won multiple ESS titles.
Yeah.
Jason Barney, Stu Friesen's been doing just fine. Jessica Zemkin,
yeah.
She's done a good job. Now Paul's done it. Steve Poirier, he's another one that's been very successful after getting out of the modified and moving over into the sprint car. There's something. There's got to be something about driving the modified, whether it's just the feel, whether it's being familiar with running the track. Something. There's got to be one thing. When you look at all those drivers that have made that transition, but the thing is every driver, when they ask that question, has a different answer.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure, you know. So Donna's another one that's done a real good job in the sprint car too. It seems like
Bobby Varon.
I don't know if it's almost half the field, or you know, a lot of people that we race with has come out of the modified. So I don't know if you'll start seeing more of that or not, but you know, you got to be able to travel a lot, unless you're just going to, you know, do races that you want to do every now and then. You kind of got to either own your own business or have a really good boss too, because we miss a lot of work.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
How about the maintenance time? I mean, we talked a little bit about the budget. What about the maintenance time in between races? Is that changed at all? Is it changing your budget on that front as well?
We work on the car way less, and it's less stressful. I joke around with some of my modified buddies, Matt Janzik and, you know, a couple other people. You know, by the time he gets his body panels all off and straightened out, I can have my car ready to go back out on the track again.
Wow.
How about that?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, sometimes it's not true, but you know, just a weekly maintenance. If you don't tear the car up, it's really quick. I mean, change the oil, check the valves, you change the gears, tighten everything back up, clean a couple things, and seems like we're back ready to go. I mean, it's almost got to be like that sometimes, especially with like Speedweek a couple weeks ago. I mean, we were racing every single day for 5 days in a row. You know, we only had 3-4 hours to work on the car before we had to get on the road. So, luckily, they're not a real hard deal to work on.
You've had a big block, and you've gone around Syracuse, and then you've had a sprint car, and you've gone around dozens of tracks that generate crazy speeds that may or may not compare to Syracuse. Which one got your attention the quickest? Was it driving the sprint car someplace like Rolling Wheels or a big track like Canandaigua, or was it the modified over at Syracuse?
I think caught my most attention maybe Lebanon Valley or Sealands Grove in the sprint car.
Yeah.
You just get going so fast, when your head starts shaking going down the front or back stretch because of all the wind, and you're just kind of like waiting for the corner to come up. It seems like it's taking forever, but you're really hitting some pretty high speeds, So that's when you really don't want something to go wrong, like what happened the other night. It probably wouldn't have turned out good for a lot of people.
Got some more questions coming on the live chat. How tough was it traveling from track to track during the speed weeks? And if you're not at home, where do you work on your car?
Well, lucky for me, I went home every night. I think the farthest track was 2 hours away, and the rest are like an hour. So.
Did you have teams following you home?
The one night when we went to Utica, I had Lance Young and Etienne Girard at my shop.
Yeah.
I know. Schneider Packaging opened up their place to a lot of people, and that's where they stayed. But, when we go up into Canada to a back-to-back weekend like Granby and Drummond, everybody's really nice to bring you in and help you out, you pretty much can always go to somebody's shop, or, Pron's family helps us out a ton, feeds us, has electric for all the RVs and stuff like that, so... Like I said earlier, it's just a big family, and we all help each other out, so it's really not that big of a deal.
Chris, that's the one thing that I think I hear more from the touring sprint car groups is that family, between the families that are racing and then that racing family, everybody being together. It's something that is just you don't see in other forms of racing.
You don't even see it in the other divisions at the same tracks that the sprint cars are at.
Absolutely.
I mean, you've got these sprint car guys that are traveling track to track, and they hang out with each other, but the guys that run together, that live in the same towns, that bring their cars, don't even get along as good as those guys.
And I think I saw part of that from my eyes Saturday when everybody pit side is trying to help one another. Lance was over with Paul's crew trying to get their car prepared to get into the trailer. And then to see when Doug Emery is pushed in after his Victory Lane interview and everybody within 3 trailers is giving him an ovation as he rolls up to his trailer in his car. And that really struck me, that family.
You know what else is interesting? And this is some credit to Canandaigua. They red flagged that, which obviously they had to. But they parked it and let everybody work on their cars for a while and brought the late models out. That way, I mean, there were some guys that were able to get their cars back out there, and instead of having 6 cars out there, they ended up doubling the field, get 12 or 13 back. And Lance Young made a couple laps before he found that the frame on his was spanked, and he ended up parking it again. But, I mean, it's one of those things where, that they got some help from the track that way, too.
Yep. It was amazing to see some of the repairs those guys made in the short time that they had to get back out there.
What's the wildest repair you've had to make in the pits, Paul?
Besides that, the crash at Canandaigua and my flip last year at Mohawk, which was definitely unfixable up there. The only other wreck I've had was at Rolling Wheels a few weeks back, and it took the front axle out of it, and we struggled and tried to fix it, and they ended up going green, and I couldn't get back out there. But we had it fixed. I mean, they had the whole axle in and out in a hurry. So, like I said, they're pretty easy to work on. And you guys said it earlier. There's so many people that help you out and just drop what they're doing and help load each other up and congratulate you and everything else. So, it's just a ton of camaraderie and a big family.
Now, was that front axle repair, was that during a race or was that during an intermission?
It was red flagged, and then they went around for, a bunch of cautions. I was just one lap late getting back out.
Wow,
and had
that's
to pull
incredible.
back off, so.
That's incredible.
Yeah, it is what it is, we've got a lot of racing left to do, so hopefully we can keep up, kind of get back to our Canada groove in the States here and try to get another win.
Well, we look forward to it. We hope to catch up with you after that next win, if not before. We really appreciate you taking time out of your week here and hanging out with us on the 31st lap, and congratulations on the wins, and we really look forward to more of them coming for you.
Okay, guys, thanks a lot.
Thanks a ton, Paul.
Okay.
There goes Paul Kinney, hanging up from the Creekside Entertainment Hotline.
Love that. I love hearing it, man. I think I've watched your episode last week probably 5 times, or listened to it at work.
Count?
I just love hearing that.
I was nervous if I was overdoing it, and I was nervous if I was forgetting it. Because I'm just not used to having to incorporate that in.
Yeah.
The official fan connection sponsor of the